Hello, Vicious Fae. Good morning. This is Alana. I am here today with some yoga and stretching for you. We are going to be on the floor today, so let's find a comfortable position on your mat and we will just get grounded in our work. So go ahead and sit whatever way feels comfortable. Back up a little bit here so you can see me. Maybe either crossing your legs or coming into a modified half lotus, whatever feels good. Sit down through the sit bones and then rest your hands gently on your knees, and let's think about lifting tall through the crown of our head, lengthening through the spine, making space between each vertebrae, and then maybe just closing your eyes just to ground yourself and put yourself into the space. We're going to be here together for about 25 minutes, and so we want to be able to block out all the other distractions and work to just being present. Take a couple deep breaths, maybe relaxing the shoulders back and down. And let your eye gaze just come open. We're going to think about scooping out our belly and just start to rotate round in a circle. So coming back, scooping the belly in, coming towards the knee, front, knee, and then back again. You can do these slow or fast. You might find the knees start to lift up, especially if you start going a little bit faster. We're starting to work into that midsection and let the breath flow as we come around. Let's do one more revolution, and then we're just going to work our way in the opposite direction. So if you're going right, coming back towards the left, same thing, scooping out the belly, reaching back through the spine, and then coming forward. I like to do these really slow, but sometimes people feel good with a little bit of speed, so maybe try out both directions, both ways, and see what feels good for you. About two more on this side. Awesome. Let's come back to center. We should be feeling a little bit warm through that belly. We're just going to come into some little twists, so reaching the hands up, and then letting the hands come to the outside of the knee as we rotate, looking over the shoulder, coming back through center. Breath comes up, and exhale to the opposite side. Let's continue that flow. Inhale, lift, and exhale down. Good. You should be nice and tall through the middle. And then keep that liftedness even as you drop the hands. This is that high point. We hold the posture even while we're dropping. One last time. Good job. Let's come back through center. This time we're just going to reach up and over to the side. Again with that breath. Letting the arms flow through this sequence. Trying to keep the sit bones down on the floor. Think about stretching through the oblique, that side of the rib cage. Maybe bending that bottom elbow just a little bit to get a deeper stretch as you come a little bit closer to the floor. We want to be in that little C curve with our spine. Let's do one more here. Perfect. Inhale, breath up, lift. And as we exhale, we're going to let the hands come behind our low back, pushing your palms together, and see if you can even make the bottom of those palms touch. So we're making a little fist behind our back. Looks like this. And then I want you to drop your shoulder blades down towards your spine, press the knuckles towards the floor, and see if you can take a little forward fold. We want to keep the hands close to the tailbone, and notice my range is not very deep. You might be able to get a whole heck of a lot deeper. If you have tight hips, this can be a little bit hard, but really we're working on the shoulders here and finding that openness through the heart. So whatever range you're at is your range today, and it is just perfect for you. I'm telling myself that as well. Keep breathing as you hold that stretch. And let's go ahead and tip back and release the hands. Good, shake it out just a little bit, maybe roll those shoulders. And we're gonna work a little bit just on some arm strength and some grip here. So reach your hands out to the side. Relax your shoulders down away from your ears. Bring the palms of your hands all the way up so your pinky is towards me. And then we're just gonna slowly rotate. So rotating, so maybe that pinky's coming back towards the front with the palms up the other way, and then rotate back. So we're just turning those hands over and coming back to the front. Keep breathing. Feel that shoulder strength engage. Keep the heart open. Beautiful. A little forearm strength. Maybe you feel your triceps. It's really a beautiful way to tone those arms. You can add a little speed if it feels good. Notice the only thing really moving is those hands, those pinkies just turning over. Palms up, palms rotate. And maybe you can't get those palms all the way back up, that's totally fine. Keep everything nice and tall. They start to fatigue a little bit, doesn't take much. Still lifting core strength, keeping you tall. Can you just show me? Let's do 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. Bring your hands at your sides. Maybe roll your shoulders. Shake it out if you need to. Alternate shoulder roll. Shake the hands. We're going to do another one with grip and really focusing on the forearms. Reaching my hands all the way up. And then we're just going to make some nice fists at the top. So you want to squeeze your hands as hard as you can. You can tuck the thumb in if that feels good. And then we're just going to let it go. So fists, and then extend. Fists, and then extend. Good. Waking up those arms. Good job. Beautiful for arthritis as our fingers start to feel a little bit less mobile as we age. We want to always be practicing movement with them. So that's going to break up that scar tissue and keep us from getting stiff. Now you might add a little speed here, see what that feels like. Feels good. Shoulders getting a little bit tired, especially after we just worked them with those rotations out to the side. That's okay. We have about 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good job. All right, roll it out, shake it out again. And we're gonna come into a side position, moving into our boat pose. So come here, balancing on your sit bones. We're gonna hinge back just a little bit, and we're gonna have lots of options here. But in our full boat pose, we're gonna be balancing on those hip bones, reaching our hands out, and then extending the legs. Knees can be slightly bent. We can keep both feet on the floor. This is where I might need to be, thinking about that core strength. You can practice with 1 foot at a time, alternating, or you can even start to reach the leg up. We're just gonna play around with whatever iteration of this boat pose feels good for you today. Maybe it's the toe tap down. Maybe it's the toe tap up. Maybe it's here. Challenge that core strength. Reaching towards those toes. Good. And then let's just hold the pose. 5, 4, 3. Are you shaking like me? 2, and 1. Good. Oh yeah. Bring yourself back down. And I'm gonna roll ourselves all the way back down to the earth. Bringing the knees in. We're gonna do 1 at a time. Hugging the knee in. Give yourself a nice alternating that knee hug. Let's do that again. Big bear hug in. And to the other side. Great job. All right, we're going to attempt a hamstring stretch here. So I want you to bring both of your knees in, and then go ahead and see if you can extend the legs up to the ceiling. In the past, we've used a strap to kind of pull those legs up, so if that's helpful, you notice I have a leg that's slightly bent, so that's totally fine if you need that little knee bend. And then we're just going to reach up towards those toes, wherever they're at. So I'm going to attempt to flex, bringing my toes back towards me. That increases that lengthening along the back of my hamstrings. And then I'm going to reach up towards those feet. So shoulder blades come off the ground. Hold. Keep breathing. Beautiful, beautiful. A little more straight. And slowly melt yourself all the way back down, drawing the knees in for a beautiful stretch. Great job. All right, feet to the floor, heels next to your hips. We're gonna come into a hip bridge. Again, working that back side. So we wanna feel that posterior chain when we're in this hip bridge. So that means your glutes, hamstrings, all the way down to your calf muscles are engaged in this pose. And the great thing about a hip bridge is, again, just like that boat pose, there's just a number of modifications that we can make to allow us to stay in the hip bridge just a little bit longer. So this is going to be your baseline, and this is where I'm starting today. But we also have some opportunities to do a little bit of glute activation on each side. So we're going to practice that. We're coming up into the hip bridge, and then I want you to lift the heel on your front leg. That's going to activate the back glute, and I want you to slowly lower the hips down, keeping up on that front tippy toe. And then once you reach the earth, we're going to go ahead and replace the heel. Let's do that again on the other side. Lifting the hips. Coming up on that back tippy toe this time, feeling that glute tightening in the front hip, that front booty cheek, and then slowly lower everything down until you come to your mat, and then we relax the heel to the floor. So this is a great way to work into single leg hip bridges, and if you're already there, you can just lift that entire knee and that entire foot up off the ground, but this is that work toward if we're not there yet, and I'm not there yet today. So that's why I'm showing you this beautiful modification that still has that targeting effect, but allows access for all abilities. Good, and notice I'm not trying to speed through this. So none of this, especially when we're thinking about yoga and stretching, none of it has to be fast. In fact, that's what I love about it. It's a chance to slow down that pace. Again, if you're feeling good, that option is to lift and then slowly lower. And let's do one more on each side, whatever way feels good to you today. And we're going to come back to that knee hug. So bringing both knees in, give yourself a squeeze, a celebration we did it, or at least that move. And reach your arms out wide, drop your knees to the front of the room, keep the upper back planted to the floor. Let's find a little spinal twist by extending the top leg out and away, letting the foot fall over that bottom knee. If it feels good, look down the back arm away from your extended legs. Just like us breaking up that scar tissue with our hand movements, we also want to make sure that we're keeping that mobility in our spine as well. So keeping everything nice and lubricated means that we need to twist and work our spine in different ways, and especially try to counteract some of that bad postural movement that we have when we're hunched over a computer screen or looking at our phones all day. Bring your knees back to center, and we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So dropping your knees to the back of the room, and then extending that top leg out and away. So it's straight over that bottom knee, and then looking in the opposite direction. Go ahead and stack the knees, bring it back to center. And let's do one final hip bridge, bringing the heels in close. Lift your hips. We're just gonna hold this brace for a moment. See how high you can get. Maybe tucking your shoulders underneath you, squeezing through the backside. I always wanna be working on that core strength because it helps us as functional humans throughout the day. So this is a great move anytime, anywhere that you can do. You don't have to hold it long. I find them a lot less uncomfortable than a plank, and this really can target your back and the back side that we don't always go for. This is a great alternative to a plank exercise if that's not your favorite core stretch, or core move, I should say. Deep breath in, and let's slowly lower, thinking about lowering one vertebrae at a time, coming down to the mat as slowly as you possibly can. Beautiful. Hugging your knees into your chest, we're gonna let them drop to one side so that we can roll over. We're gonna come onto all fours onto your mat. So I just want you to come onto your hands and knees, whatever way you can get there safely and efficiently. We don't need to cause any more damage. We're gonna move into our cat-cow. So with the inhale, we lift the chin looking up and letting a little bit of that concave back happen. The tailbone lifts. And then exhale, rounding through the back, lifting through the spine. Inhale, look up. Tailbone sticks out, and exhale. This is a great low back stretch. So think about rounding from the low back as opposed to the center of the back, and see how that changes the movement. Almost like you're driving your belly button up through that low back. That's gonna really push the work to exactly the right place. Again, no need for speed here. Let's try two more. And then let's come back to a neutral spine. And we're talking about some of those functional movements that can hinder us. We're gonna thread the needle, and this is really thinking about counteracting those shoulders shrugging forward. So I want you to drop your back arm underneath. We're gonna keep the hips high, and then just see if you can come down to lay onto that shoulder just a little bit. Maybe your ear comes all the way down to the mat, maybe it doesn't, but keep the hips up high, don't let them come down towards your heels. And we're just gonna lay down on that shoulder, open up through the back. This time we're thinking about that upper back opening and spreading. And with an inhale, coming back through center, we're gonna go to the opposite side. So same thing, laying down on that shoulder, reaching back, palm up. Ear can come to the mat if it feels good. Hips stay high, belly button square to the floor. And then right back to our neutral spine. Good, let's go ahead and walk ourselves up. So if we think about trying to counteract those shoulders shrugging forward or that poor posture, we're gonna come into our half camel here. So reaching all the way up if you want to. First, maybe tucking the toes under so you have less distance to travel, and then coming down to one heel and coming into that little back bend, opening up through the front body. If you wanna come all the way down, you can extend both arms towards that heel, but we're gonna practice both sides. Deep breath, open belly, a little bit more of a back bend. 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and pinwheel yourself back down, and we're just going to come into a little child's pose, pushing your hips back towards your heels, forehead to the mat. Deep breath. And we're going to come back on the other side. So to all fours, walk your hands in, lifting up and back through the shoulders, tucking toes for a little less distance, reaching all the way up. This time the back hand comes down towards that heel, and let's arch that back. One side might feel easier than the other. Maybe you need to come up onto your pinky toes on that heel. Maybe you can sink back a little bit further. Go ahead and bring your eye gaze up. Try to look at your fingers overhead. And hold for 3, 2, and 1. Tuck the chin as we come back in. We're going to come back to the floor and come into our child's pose, pushing the hips back. Exhale everything. Coming back into our horse stance, pushing the hands right underneath the hips. We're going to practice that core strength again. Remember, always thinking about that band around our midsection, just holding us in nice and tight. So let's go ahead and extend one leg and the opposite arm. If you want to, you can keep the toe on the floor. We're trying to reach ahead of the shoulder and reach the foot just behind the hip. So reach long and away, and then come back in. We're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. We're going to make this a little bit fluid. So coming up and down with the breath. Inhale nice and big, opposite side, and exhale. Imagine that you have a tray of food on your back, maybe tea service, and that you don't want to spill a single drop of tea or ruin that dinner. So everything on your back has to stay completely still. We're extending from the shoulder joint and the hip joint, but the core strength, that's what's keeping us in this tabletop position, does not move. It does not waver at all. Also helps to press firmly through that bottom hand. It's going to support that midsection. Good. Let's do just one more. Make sure you're even. One more each side maybe. And let's sit back into our child's pose again. Maybe spreading the knees a little bit wider, pushing the hips back towards the heels. And then while we're here, we're going to shift from a frog pose, from a child's pose into a frog's pose. So coming back onto all fours, and then turning your feet out so the toes come to the outside, heels are in. And then we're going to sit the hips back again. Maybe not the same range of motion, but feeling through the outside of the hips this time. Keeping the breath flowing, let that breath continue to shift the weight backwards. Maybe a little bit more uncomfortable because this isn't quite as relaxing of a pose as our child's pose. Think about the shoulders melting open so the chest can come closer to the floor. And then with an inhale, let's come back to center. We're going to shift the toes back inside, this time coming into our child's pose. Maybe pushing away through the heels of the hands to continue that stretch. Tailbone towards your heels. back through center. One more time for that frog pose. Make those toes point out. Sit your hips back. Inhale to center and back to that child's pose just briefly. Maybe wiggling those hips a little bit to continue that stretch, forehead to the floor, and work everything out. Let's come back up onto all fours. This time we're going to just come down onto the mat, onto our belly. So slowly lowering to the mat. And then I want you to separate your knees slightly. Keep your hands underneath your chest. Click your heels together. We're going to just come into a little parachute. So I want you to lift your knees up off the ground. Squeeze your butt hard. And see if you can just continue to breathe through this stretch. So it's okay if your belly is down on the ground, but what we're trying to do is lift those legs off and find some activation in the back side. Then go ahead and push through the floor into your hands for a little bit of a back bend here, keeping the elbows tucked in nice and close. Oh, and feel that gorgeous back stretch all the way down into the glutes and the hamstrings. Keep the knees open, inhale up, and exhale, come all the way back down to the earth. Let's go ahead and do that again. Inhale, rise. Eye gaze can come straight ahead, and exhale, lower back down. Let's do it again. Inhale up. Lots of back strength here. You can have a little support with your hands and exhale down. We have about 3 more. Inhale, lift. And exhale down. Inhale, lift. A little deeper into that bend. Exhale, this is our last one. And inhale, up. And exhale down. Let the legs lower. Maybe flutter kick just a moment to kind of stretch them out, release the tension in the glutes. Bring your hands underneath your forehead. We're just doing one final low back and glute stretch here. So lifting the front leg, we're going to do 10 repetitions on the front side, pointing the toe. We've got that ballerina toe. And I just want you to point and lift. Point and lift. Perfect. That little low back extension, little baby movement, big impact. Those are the types of moves that we like. 8, 9, and 10. And then we want to balance it out. We're going to go to the back side. 10, 9, keep breathing. And for our final pose, we're going to reach out long, extend the arms, reach the legs up. Oh my goodness, little Superman, Superwoman, super people here. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Replace the hands underneath you. Go ahead and push yourself all the way back for our final child's pose. Exhale, forehead to the floor. Great job stretching today. Nice to just find some movement, especially in those places that are often forgotten. Sometimes with the big sun salutations, we focus on the larger muscle groups and we neglect those little spots that can be a little bit trickier to target. When you're ready, go ahead and come back onto your mat, laying on your back. We're just going to finish with a short savasana, so find your comfortable position, knees knocked, extended arms, extended legs, whatever feels good, and find your way back to those closed eyes. I challenge you to just take this moment for yourself. It is hard to do that, and I'm again talking once again to my own person, but just enjoy the time that you have with some space and aloneness. And just honor your body's work today. Just with one last deep breath, bring yourself back to the space. Doesn't take much to get lost in that moment. Let your knees drop to one side so you can safely return to an upright position. Come into seated as slowly or as quickly as you'd like to. Comfortable position, hands on your knees or to heart center. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I am Alana. I can't wait to see you again. The light in me honors the light in you. Thank you.